We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
Chris. With his EMP Tech front left-right speaker upgrade being so successful, he's trying to further improve his system. He attempted to do a subwoofer crawl. He used the rattle test on the Disney Wow setup disc along with the SPL meter on his phone, set to C weighting. He found a spot where the bass sounded the most even as SPL meter app gave the flattest reading. The spot was directly in the walkway between the kitchen and the living room. Yeah. Not exactly convenient, but though it makes sense because it's probably like if you were going to put one sub in the room, you put it right smack dab in the middle of the room.
It kind of.
So
yeah.
this is probably why, because there was probably space in the room, and then down the hall, kind of acted as the rest of the space, and that's probably why this is. So, but a nearby location seemed to be the best, really reasonable place that you could put something.
Yes,
There was one fairly obvious dip, but just that one, and when he was listening, it was a major improvement over his previous subwoofer location. So success. That's great. So you have successfully done a subwoofer crawl. Thumbs up. I think that's I think that levels you up to AVRant level 2. I think it's a bronze level. Just in case you're wondering. Like I said. Anyways, we know he knows we've discussed it before in the podcast. What's the very best signal to play and the very best way to go about doing the subwoofer crawl? Well, you did it right.
Seems like
doesn't that wow thing? Doesn't it play like a sweep? So because it's a rattle test, right? So it does like it isn't it a sweep? I thought that was a sweep.
It's not a completely smooth sweep, which is what I'm used to.
Right.
So I'll just mention, because if somebody doesn't want to pay anything at all, you don't have to, because you can go to audiocheck.net and create a sweep of your own. It'll just come out as a WAV file. So normally what I would recommend is make the sweep about 10 seconds long. It doesn't really matter if you start at the top and go down or start at the bottom and go up, but I normally start at 20 hertz and go up to 200 hertz.
Yeah.
I usually set the dBFS setting to -12, because that's typically the standard. That basically means 85 dB. And then, 10 seconds, leave it at 44.1. And then I like to have two versions. I like to have just the sweep all by itself, but I also like to create a marked sweep, which is simply a checkbox that you check. And what that does is every 10 hertz, it plays a little static sound, a little sound in there every 10 hertz. So that lets you count how high you are. So you know that if you started at 20, then the next sound that you hear is going to be 30 and 40 and so on. I like to have both of those available so that if there is a dip, at least I can tell, within which 10 hertz interval that dip or that peak occurred, and then I sort of know where I can target some EQ if I want to do that manually.
Yeah.
But that's the signal I like to use, and I think the easiest way to do it is to just put that on your phone, then just take a headphone jack to RCA plug adapter. Which you can do if you have a headphone jack. So, I guess you can still do it on an iPhone 7 technically with the stupid dongle in between.
Yeah, but dongle might fall off.
But yeah.
I mean, you never know the dongle. And you're going to lose it for sure because it's only 2 inches long. You're going to lose it. But don't worry, they'll sell you another one for like $20.
$30 or something. I take the sweep that you create, I'd put it on your phone, I'd connect the headphone jack to an RCA cable, plug that directly into your subwoofer. Then that way you don't even have to worry about turning on an AV receiver or plugging in a disc or anything at all. So subwoofer crawl, Tom can tell us all about that. It sounds like you did it right, but just for the folks who might not remember.
Yeah, because these days, once you place them, if you got two subs and you place them correctly, you don't have to do the crawl.
Right.
So it's doing the subwoofer crawl. If you have one sub, you take the sub, you put it in your chair, right? If your sub has spiked feet, do not put it in your chair with the spiked feet. Turn it upside down. Okay? It's okay. Guess what? The bass doesn't care. The bass doesn't care if it's upside down or not. So you put it in your chair. And I mean, unless you have one of those 500-pound subs, then maybe you put it it right near your chair. Anyways, you're supposed to put it in your chair. You take it. I just hit my computer. It didn't fall off. Yay me. So you put it in your chair, and then you crawl around the ground while a bass sweep is playing. And as Rob explained to you, it's going to go from 20 hertz all the way up to 200 hertz.
Yep.
And you want that to sound, well, that sounded pretty good. We want that to sound as even as possible, all right? As flat as you can. So there's not really big loud sections, and you'll hear it as you go around, and really, where it's kind of the sound seems to disappear. Okay, so
I always love when people do it for the first time and actually get to experience the difference in those. Some parts get really loud, some parts get really quiet, because it's always such an enlightening experience when you do it for the first time. You're like, holy cow, where I am in the room makes such a difference.
So what you're doing here is you're going to turn this up fairly loud, because you want to be able to, your hearing is not super sensitive when it's low. So you're not doing this at like, oh, and I'm going to have a conversation with my wife while I'm crawling across the ground like a crazy person.
Yeah, you want it loud.
You want it loud. And you don't want to just go to the 3 spots that you have available in your room and go there and listen. You actually want to do what Rob just said, which is experience it so you know it when you hear it. That means just go all over the room and listen. And yes, you want to be low to the floor, because that's where the sub's going to be. That's why they call it the subwoofer crawl. So you crawl around the room and listen and see where it sounds the evenest, and mark those spots. And say, this is a spot, this is a spot, this is a spot. But this one right here is in the middle of a door, so I can't, either I have to trap myself in here, or I can move the sub over there every time I'm watching a movie or listening to music, or I have to find a different spot. And you find the one that's the best. And at that point, that's where your sub will go. You move your sub there, you calibrate it, you run Odyssey or whatever room correction you have, and that allows your room correction, if it does do any subwoofer calibration, to get the most benefit. You get the most benefit that way, because it's not trying to take down these huge peaks or boost up these massive valleys. It's making everything a lot closer, so that it can do more with what it's got.
Mm-hmm. Now, I will say, if you have a choice between one place that has, let's say, one big dip versus another place that has 2 big humps, it's actually better to go for the place that has 2 big humps.
Yes, that's a good point.
Because you can always quiet down humps. You can't necessarily fill in dips, because dips are happening because of cancellation, which means no matter how loud you make it, it's still going to cancel. That's why there's a big dip there. If it's a little dip, if it just gets slightly quieter, that's not too bad. You can fill that in. But if it's a very obvious big dip, it's actually better to go for the place that maybe it has more humps, but it doesn't have any big dips, because you can always tamp down the humps with EQ. So that would be preferable.
All right, he says he won't be buying any more gear until January, but what should he do next? His front left-right speakers were such a huge upgrade, and now his subwoofer sounds better, but he knows he's still missing a lot of the lowest frequencies. What subwoofer does he have? Is it the EMP Tech one?
No, that was one of the... Remember, he was the fellow with the home theater in a box system.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He was the fellow who sent us that short video.
Oh, right. Okay, wow, okay. Oh, okay. On the other hand, he's still using his own center speaker, and the subwoofers cost a lot more than the EMP Tech sensor. So, not during this Black Friday sale. So, will the EMP Tech center be a similar upgrade as his front left-right speakers, or should you go for the new sub first?
That is tough.
I want to... I want to say... I'm going to say subwoofer.
I want to say sub, because you can run a phantom center.
I do. I think you throw your center out and you just run a phantom center for right now, and you run a subwoofer, because I think, and I honestly believe this, you will contact us and say, it seems like the center is better. I definitely see it. Difference. I definitely hear a difference. I definitely do.
Yeah.
All right. Whereas you're going to contact us with after the subwoofer and go, oh, I had to bolt down like half my house. Like half my house moves now. You know, I had no idea. Like, I remember the first time I had something rattled in my house, and it took me like 45 minutes to find it. It was like a light fixture 2 rooms away. Or the time my kids went behind the subwoofer and jacked up the volume when I wasn't looking, and all the wine glasses were rattling in the cupboards in the kitchen. I was like, I've experienced something amazing here, and I will remember it for all time.
And going from like I think it was like an 8-inch home theater in a box sub that he had, going from that to, you know, any of the subs that we frequently recommend.
Yeah.
That's there's gonna be a whole lot of sounds you never knew were there before,
Yes.
or you knew they were there, but you just know you're not hearing them. There's a whole lot going on, and considering you now have very nice front, left, right speakers.
Yes.
And I completely agree with that, and I'm so happy that you're so happy with them, because that makes it all worthwhile.
Absolutely.
You can run those as Phantom Center. You know, it sounds as though it's primarily him listening on his own for the most part, and believe me, most other people don't care nearly as much as you will. So, considering you can run them as a Phantom Center, and I would, because I wouldn't leave all the dialogue to his little home theater in a box center anymore. I wouldn't do that. I'm like, you got these front, left, right speakers. You know they're so much better. I'd run that Phantom Center. I would say that when you eventually do get the ENP Tech Center, it's going to be a nice upgrade. You know, and if you were to just compare it to your current center speaker, that's going to be a significant thing. But because you can get away with a Phantom Center, and that subwoofer upgrade is going to be, it's going to be life-changing.
I honestly believe that you should make 2 purchases eventually. Not at the same time, I'm not suggesting that. You should think of it this way. You should either buy a sub, or you should buy your center and surrounds. You know, I think that's the way you should think of it. Because I think by upgrading the centers and surrounds, you're going to be getting a similar upgrade experience as to what you're experiencing by upgrading the left and rights. Left and rights are hugely important, you know, hugely important in your system. But by upgrading the center and the surrounds, you're going to have a similar reaction to it. While like, wow, I can't believe this is that much better, because you're going to have a lot more sound. And then, of course, the third upgrade is going to be the second sub. But if you're, unless it's just the one person in the room, in which case, and believe me, you have to do this subwoofer crawl again probably when you get your new sub. Just go throw that out there. It's probably still going to be the best spot, but I would do it again just in case, because now you're going to be dealing with frequencies that you did not know were there.
I'm sure there is an entire octave and a half that will be there with the.
Therefore, you will have to do it again. You will. I know. Don't just assume that this will be the best space, because it's the best space for your little sub that goes down to 40 hertz or whatever it is, 30 hertz. This the sub you're gonna get after you talk to us is gonna be like 19, and then
Yep.
Yeah, man. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.